Having a dark mode on your website or application has become very popular. Many big websites and applications are coming up with their own version of it, and if you want to make one for your own React app, you can easily do so with very little JavaScript code and a bit of custom CSS. My name is Alex and this is what we'll make. It's a simple web page in React that has a button which you can use to change your mode from light to dark. If you want, you can later expand it to handle multiple website skins or themes. We are going to start with a new Create React app. I removed unnecessary stuff from it and I've added a bit of HTML as a starting point. We have the default app container and I added a simple navigation bar to it. For the purposes of this tutorial, it's not really important how you set it up. We just want something on the page that we can interact with once the dark mode button is working. We have a simple hello world heading, a lot of lorem ipsum paragraphs, and a div container which we will use to show an image. We will set up our React component to interact with all of these elements. Our app CSS file is set up with some basic CSS for body, navigation, and links. To start off, we need to add a new component in the components folder. Let's call it darkmode.js, and a CSS file for styling it, which we will call darkmode.css. We will start building out the component by making it a constant with no inputs and export it as a default. Its basic functionality is going to be returning a button element which we will use to change the mode or theme. Let's import the CSS file right away and we will change its contents later. For everything to work, we need to set up a few properties. The body is the document's body element. We need a reference to it so we can apply styling to it once we click the dark mode button. Light theme and dark theme are going to be the class names that we will apply to the body. Theme is a local property which we will use to handle the currently selected mode. The click class is going to be applied to the button when we click on it. This way we will signal the change of its state. And since we are mentioning state, you may be wondering if we'll use the React state to set up our logic, and the answer is no, we'll not. We could, but it's a really simple use case that doesn't require it. What we will do is use the local storage, which is browser's internal memory space designed just for stuff like this. It has a limited memory capacity and it's not considered secure, but it's perfect for a situation like this where you just need to keep track of a single property value. Local storage is also very handy because its values persist when you switch the page or close the browser altogether, so you can set the values and not worry about them getting deleted or expiring. In terms of JavaScript, the local storage is an object which is a part of the window object, so we can access it directly and try to find an item that's stored inside. For this, we use the getItem function and pass in the property we're looking for. In this case, we will be expecting to find one of the two values, light or dark, because these are the values we will be setting in the local storage. If we find such value, we will add that CSS class to the document body. If not, we will default to not using the dark mode by setting the light class. Of course, if you do want dark mode to be the default value, then you can do that too. To make our button do something on click, we need to set up an on-click event for it, which we'll call the switch theme function, which we don't have yet. We will also add an ID to it so we can style it more easily later, and we will add the click class to it if the dark mode is on. The switch theme function is going to check which theme is currently active and do a couple of different things depending on that. If the dark mode is currently on, it will replace the dark theme body class with the light one. It will remove the clicked class from the dark mode button and set the local storage theme property to light. Finally, we will set the theme property to light theme since dark mode will no longer be active. In case the dark mode was already off, we will want to turn it on. To do that, we will do almost the same thing as before. We replace the light theme body class with the dark one, mark the button as clicked, set the local storage property to dark, and finally set the theme to dark. With this, our component is finished and we can import it inside of the app component. Now we need to set up its CSS. Our button has the dark mode ID, so that's what we'll use to style it. For the background image, I'm using a moon icon that I found on flaticon.com. I'm setting its dimensions and borders so it's shaped like a circle, and I'm adding it a grayscale filter so it looks grayed out when in default non-clicked state. For hover and focus states, we're going to remove the filter and set the background to black, so the icon looks like a yellow moon and stars with a night sky background. We will do the same for the clicked button class. Our component CSS is now set up and we need to take care of the two body classes, one for dark mode and one for light mode. To change between two different looks, we will use CSS variables. You can declare them anywhere you want if the body element has access to them. As a start, we will add two color variables in the root selector. To simplify the example, I will use the white color for background and the blue color for text in light mode, and we will switch between them when we turn on the dark mode. To do so, we will add more CSS variables inside of the light class selector, which will use the variables from the root. We will also modify the font weight when switching themes, as well as the background image below the Hello World heading. This is not something I recommend doing, especially for the background image, but it is an option if you want to play around with it. For the dark mode class, we will do something similar. We will switch the colors for background and text, give the font a bit more weight, and we'll use a different nighttime image. Now that we have dark and light mode classes set up, we need to make the body selector use them, which is easy enough. Just set your properties to use the correct CSS variables. Of course, we also need to set up the image container to use the image variable. If we want to take this a bit further, we can also set up the navbar to change the background and text color in different modes. If you follow through everything, you should now have your own functioning customizable dark mode switch built in React. If you want to take a look at the code, you can grab the source files on GitHub or from my website. If this video helped you, give it a like and subscribe. My name is Alex, and I'll see you in the next one.